Michael Gardam is the director of Ignite Consulting and an expert in infection prevention and control with the University Health Network. He sat down with Canadian HR Reporter TV to talk to us about how positive deviance can make a positive impact on your organization. Why is there often this social immune response or a level of defensiveness when trying to solve complex problems?
Typically when you deal with complex problems, there's a lot of your own personality and your beliefs. There's a lot of you sort of steeped in those complex problems. And so if someone from the outside comes and tells you what to do, you often can be offended by it. It doesn't fit with sort of your core beliefs. You want to do it differently, etc. The example I always give is raising children. We all believe how we're raising our kids is sort of the right way to do it, and you can imagine if I came into your household and told you, you're doing it all wrong, you have to do it this way. If you go to a bookstore and look up child rearing, you'll find 100 different books, many of which actually contradict each other. And that's just an example of what worked for me may very well not work for you when you're dealing with a complex problem. So I have to be mindful of that and have you come up with solutions that make sense for you.
Why is a toxic culture the critical piece that needs to be fixed before the situation can be resolved?
Yeah, when we do this work, we realize that the culture itself is really what is causing a lot of our problems. So in particular in healthcare, which is what I'm used to, it's often hard to speak up. It's often hard to admit that you don't know something. It's often hard to challenge someone who's higher up the hierarchy from you. And so if nobody's speaking and people feel uncomfortable saying things, then good ideas aren't being heard. They're not being spread. If that particular person who you won't challenge is doing something wrong, you're not going to be challenging them on it, so it just gets perpetuated. So without being able to really respectfully challenge each other, have the difficult conversations, all of these things just keep going on the way they've always done. And we know from healthcare that we cause an enormous amount of harm to our patients with the status quo. So you can't change the status quo if the status quo won't let you change it. You have to be able to start affecting that culture to get people to be open to the idea of spreading ideas and listening to others.
Why should the focus be on minimum specifications or simple rules instead of maximum specifications?
Yeah, what we often do whenever we're trying to bring about change is we try to come up with a whole laundry list of things people are supposed to do. And out of the belief that if we standardize it and we give everybody every possible scenario and really map it out for them, it'll be easier. But in fact, all of those multiple rules end up with people pushing back, because inevitably as soon as they start scripting your life, you start pushing back and saying, wait, this doesn't work. So if you go to a real minimum specification or simple rules approach, you're really enforcing things that every single person is going to agree on, and if you don't do those things, it's all going to fall apart. If we all agree on that, and then I allow variation beyond that, it really enables people to make it their own, but they're still meeting the core principles, because they can't argue over the core principles. We all agreed those are things we all have to do. So the example I often give is with raising children. We need to love them, we need to feed them, we need to clothe them, they need to be educated. And then as you start to go down that list, things start to become more and more optional. What kind of school, what kind of clothes, do they need a Prada handbag or not, etc., etc., etc. That stuff is what people get caught up in. Push that all aside. What are the simple rules we all agree on, and then allow people to basically vary after that.
What is frontline ownership?
So the concept of frontline ownership is really incorporating the ideas of positive deviance and then using a variety of facilitation techniques to pull those ideas out. So positive deviance is a simple concept which sort of states that in any population there's some people who are better at something than others. So in any workplace there may be people that are better at filling out their pay sheets on time, or people that are better at getting to work on time, or always get that report finished. What is it about them that makes them special? They may not know that they're special. What is it about them? And can we share those ideas virally so that others start to pick up those actions or those behaviors? The reason why we add on the facilitation techniques is that in many cultures, those people aren't going to speak up. Their ideas aren't going to be heard because the culture may not let them speak up. It may be so hierarchical that they can't say anything. So we add on this layer of facilitation where we hear from everybody, and that's when those positive deviance ideas start to float up, and then people can hear about them and then potentially adopt them. So we sort of call the combination frontline ownership, also because frontline ownership is easier to understand than the word positive deviance, which people really have a hard time wrapping their head around. Frontline ownership kind of says it all. You're giving, the people that are touching the problems are the ones that are actually coming up with the solutions to those problems.
Why is positive deviance such an effective approach to change management?
Positive deviance is a really effective approach to dealing with complex problems, because the only ones who can solve those problems are the people that are in those problems. So whenever you're bringing outside ideas, and we see this over and over again, where you can have an expert coming in that says, oh, you should do it this way, and inevitably people who are actually in the problem will start telling you why it won't work, it doesn't make sense here, that's not going to happen here, etc., and they start pushing back. The way to bring about change with these really complex problems is to deeply engage the people who are in the problem to come up with solutions that work for them. And this has been used, this has been proven in a variety of areas, things such as childhood malnutrition. It's been proven with things such as gang violence. I mean, what's the solution to gang violence? I don't know. Ask a gang. Start talking to those people rather than bringing in somebody from outside to tell them what to do, because they're not going to listen to someone from outside.